announced a new nominee for the U.S. Surgeon General who never finished her residency and is not a practicing physician. So can you explain why you picked her to be America's top doctor?
Because Bobby thought she was fantastic. She's she's a brilliant woman. Bobby really thought she was great. I don't know her. I listened to the recommendation of Bobby.
Donald Trump passing the buck again. This time about his pick, or as he puts it, RFK Jr.'s pick, for U.S. Surgeon General Casey Means. Means is a doctor turned wellness influencer who is prominent in the Make America Healthy Again sphere. And as the Associated Press reports, she, quote, has no government experience and dropped out of her surgical residency program, saying she became disillusioned with traditional medicine. In other words, she fits right into this Trump administration 2.0. Molly Jong-Fast and Cameron Kasky are still with us. Thank you, guys. All right, Cameron, what does her selection say to you?
Well, I was reading up on it, and I saw that she said she talked to trees, which made me say, oh, my God, I miss Game of Thrones, because they do that on that show. It's very concerning. I think that the Make America Healthy Again movement is one of those examples of something that's so absurd we get distracted from how very dangerous it is. But there are outbreaks happening all over the country right now, and we're already seeing the consequences of RFK Jr.'s madness. There's certain things from the Trump administration and from all the things they're doing to pull apart the government where we are going to be seeing the effects for decades. This is one of them, and we're already seeing it.
I think actually the most interesting piece of all of this is that the Make America Healthy Again movement is not actually unified behind her. There are a lot of people who think she's like not sufficiently anti-vax. We have this quote from some MAHA leader, Mike Adams, writing on X, she's not a health freedom advocate. She's not a vaccine truther. She'll never recommend natural cancer cures or remedies. She's basically cosplaying as a MAHA champion. In reality, she's an establishment pick, and she'll push the establishment narrative, 100% guaranteed. Count on it. So is she too crazy or not crazy enough, Molly?
Don't threaten me with a good time. The establishment pick, she might get people to do medicine. Look, this is the fundamental problem with RFK and with all of this is that it's undermining the Americans' faith in vaccines, right? Things like measles, mumps, rubella, right? Kids used to die as babies because we did not have vaccines. Now we have vaccines, so less children die of preventable diseases, except right now we have measles outbreaks in Texas, and there's some in New Jersey, and
lots of states actually.
Right, and it's sort of spreading, and you see the polling that people are less confident in vaccines, and so much of the job that she's going to take on as Surgeon General is about messaging to the American people, like get your vaccines and go to the doctor and get a flu shot. These are like simple things, but it's the fact that we don't know if she even believes in these sort of medical norms is how we're in trouble.
But to some extent, it is on brand for what this administration is about, which is whether it is the deep state or the health officials, they want you to have distrust in the government, right? There used to be a time when Americans would trust our institutions to be able to give us good healthcare advice or give us good science or give us good vaccine guidance. But now we don't trust that, just the same way we're supposed to believe that the Department of Justice is spying on us or that the deep state is running the CIA or running the Department of Defense. It doesn't matter what the department is, it's the same tactic.
I mean, two of the people that we've talked about just in the past couple minutes have been a crypto guy and an influencer. So you can't blame people for looking at this and saying, how am I supposed to have faith in our government? Because people like this are being allowed in our government. RFK Jr. is one of the greatest examples of nepotism gone wrong that we've ever seen in this country. And he's making decisions right now that are leading to things like a hepatitis A outbreak in Los Angeles. And these are things we're going to be seeing the consequences of for so very long. So when people look at our institutions, the institutions that we really need to trust, and they see guys like this, what are they supposed to say other than this American experiment we have is not working very well right now?
Well, what do you think effective messaging against this looks like? Because the reality about the MAHA movement is, I have some family members who have been pulled into it or sort of MAHA adjacent. it begins with very understandable and legitimate concerns and fears about the amount of money that pharmaceutical industries have made off of people, their profits off of our suffering. And so a lot of people there, they actually have genuine concern and empathy for others and worries about the American medical system. The challenge, though, is then that often what they're met with or the solution that they're offered are these influencers who are actually doing the same thing. They're saying, I will sell you a bottle of sketchy pills to fix that problem, or here's some horse medicine you should take when you have COVID. And so, they're also making a profit off of your pain, actually. They just have found this effective way to take advantage of the lack of trust and hurt. So how do you message against that? How do you get people back into the fold, kind of back grounded to reality, when the truth is the problem started with something that is very, very real?
One of the first things I would say is talk to your doctor, but people don't seem to respect qualifications anymore. I mean, you see people freak out about DEI hires whenever something goes wrong. MAGA immediately finds a woman or minority involved and says, hey, look at this thing that DEI did. So qualifications don't mean much to people. And therefore, I don't know what to say. So
what I would say is that we're coming from this post-COVID era, right? So one of the reasons why there's so much backlash against expertise and doctors and pharmaceutical companies and all of this is because of COVID, right? There was a feeling among some people that the wrong things were told. It was a once in a lifetime, hopefully, pandemic. And there were a lot of sort of on the fly, you can get it when you're outside, you can't get it when you're outside, you need to be, there just was a lot of people doing the best they could. And that didn't mean, still people died. Some people got long COVID, all sorts of really bad stuff happened, but they weren't in control of the outcomes. And I think if you look back to the 1918 flu pandemic, you can see a similar thing, a sort of rebellion against medical professionals. So I think we're riding through some of that. The problem with Trump is that what he did was he elevated RFK Jr., I think, because he thought it would help him get elected, and I think it did. And, he doesn't really care about the details, which is what we see again and again with this administration.
I'm really worried not only about this institutional threat to, trust and expertise, trust in your doctor or other public health experts. They're also purging a lot of data. And so the CDC has stopped collecting data on a number of important surveys related to mental health, related to substance abuse, related to
diabetes,
people in the LGBTQ+ community. We're just not collecting a lot of information that we had been, and it will take a really long time to rebuild that infrastructure. Do you think there's any way to get people to care about that, I guess, is my question?
I don't know how to get people to care about the fact that they are using people's private information to make things like an autism registry.
Yes.
Medicare and Medicaid information is being used to put these people on a list and crack down on autism, which is...
There's no historical echoes there that we should be worried about, right?
And it's also, if you want to get scared about all of this, right, it's that RFK Jr. said he's going to know what causes autism by September. Right?
You're going to hold your breath on that one?
If it were Trump, I would say he's going to then in September be in 2 weeks. But
you're worried RFK will actually come forward with an answer.
And that his answer will be the thing he always says, which is vaccines. And I think a lot of MAHA, people who are writing about MAHA, believe that that's where this is going.
All right, guys, we're going to have to leave it at that. Really happy to have both of you on set. Thank you for joining us. Hopefully we'll have you guys back soon.